Before I move forward into the recording processes, there's a couple of terms that I want to make sure that you understand first, and that is the difference between events and data and how they differ between the different track types. Right now, in this simple project that I have called up, there are two different tracks, one of which is an instrument track, and instrument tracks use MIDI information. Then I have an audio track, which records audio information. That information can be looked at in a couple of different ways, through events, which are found here in the event display, but then these individual events themselves have data inside of them. And we can see that the MIDI data on this track looks very different from the audio data on this track. So while all tracks record events, it's the data inside of those events that really make the difference. Let's take a closer look at this MIDI event on the instrument track. So I'm going to double click on that. That will open our editor tab in the lower zone here, and we can look at all of the MIDI information. With MIDI information, it's very surgical. You can look at the note itself. You can move its position up and down or left and right or change the note duration and so forth, which is different for audio information. What I'm going to do right now is unrecord enable both of these tracks, but I'm going to solo the piano track, and let's just listen to the playback. So I have a C major scale, and then I have some C major chords that I have right here. So what I'm looking at here in the editor is the MIDI data. That's different than the audio data. Let's solo the audio track and take a listen to it instead, and we'll be able to see the audio information here in the editor.
Do, re, mi, so, fa, la, di, to, 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 to.
So that is the audio data within that audio event. And it is edited differently because we're actually looking at the audio waveform instead of the MIDI data. So audio and MIDI data are not interchangeable, and I'll talk more about editing later on in this course. But I did want to show you the difference between the events themselves and the data that they contain. And in the next section, I'll show you how to choose sounds for your project.